If you had $1 million and wanted to live abroad, how would you structure your finances to avoid taxation? For many US expats, this isn't a hypothetical, it's a real-world problem. And yes, this is obviously a good problem to have, as they say, but if you're going to be living abroad as an expat, then you might as well do it in a tax-efficient way. That's true whether you're a multi-millionaire or you're just earning a comfortable income working remotely. A lot of the tax hacks that only wealthy people used to know about are now being used by a much broader set of Americans, including many of our clients. In this video, we'll break down how an expat who's done well financially can best structure their assets intelligently. Let's dive in. So maybe you've built a business, sold some equity, or have a really strong investment portfolio. You're someone who's financially independent enough to live anywhere, but you're still a US citizen or resident, so you're tied to US tax rules, US compliance, and maybe even a US mindset about money that can be very limiting. Now, every expat knows that the US government doesn't want to let you go. They want you to keep paying taxes, regardless if you haven't set foot in the country in 10, 20, 30 years. Even after you move abroad, even after you get a visa or residency or new passport, the IRS and many state governments still expect you to report your worldwide income and fork over their cut of it. But the good news is that with careful planning, you can actually shield a lot of that income in a perfectly legitimate way that doesn't involve any offshore accounts or sketchy transactions. All you need is the right framework. First, we need to talk about tax residency. If you're coming from a U.S. state that levies a personal income tax or capital gains tax, then you're going to want to terminate your residency there before you move abroad. Many states are just like the federal government. They tax you on your worldwide income regardless of where you reside. And if you're from a state like California or New York, then you're in for a real treat because those states are notorious for giving expats and nomads a really hard time when it comes to taxes. What you want to do is establish your tax home in a state like Florida, which has no income tax and no capital gains tax at the state level. We have a lot of content on this channel about how to do that, but if you want pro guidance, make sure to check out our service at Savvy Nomad. We can get you a real residential address in Florida that you can use for tax and legal purposes. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the video description and make sure you use the code YouTube for a special discount. Now, leaving aside state taxes, you need to also think about tax residency at the country level. Now, a lot of digital nomads, they move from country to country and don't pay taxes to any of them. Technically speaking, you can probably fly underneath the radar and nobody's going to notice or care. But keep in mind that being a tax resident of nowhere actually isn't the best strategy. At some point, somebody might want to claim you for taxes. At the end of the day, it's good to have an official tax home, at least on paper. Again, because the US has a citizenship-based taxation system and not a residency-based taxation system, the IRS is still going to come after you for its share no matter where you live in the world. But you can minimize what you owe. The foreign earned income exclusion is the biggest tax break by far. For tax year 2025, you can exclude your first $130,000 in foreign earned income from federal income taxes. Again, we have a lot of content on these tax breaks, so follow our channel and check out our other videos. So once you set your residency, what you want to do is structure your real wealth, and I'm talking, of course, about your investments and assets. For the $1 million expat, the goal isn't just to minimize taxes, it's to maintain control. Now, most Americans, they start with a mix of taxable brokerage accounts and retirement accounts like IRAs. Now, you can often keep your U.S. brokerage accounts when you move overseas, but some platforms restrict foreign access. Wealthy expats will sometimes split their portfolio, keeping a U.S. account for U.S.-based investments and opening foreign brokerage accounts for global ETFs, bonds, or opportunities in the local market. This allows you to diversify your currency exposure while staying compliant. If you own a business, especially one that generates income globally, then a key step is structuring that in a way that minimizes tax obligations. Some expats use international holding companies or offshore LLCs to centralize income in a tax-advantaged jurisdiction. Now, clearly, this can get incredibly complicated, and there are complex U.S. reporting requirements for foreign-controlled businesses, so we always recommend that expats seek guidance from a qualified tax professional when it comes to setting up offshore structures. If you enjoyed this video and you want more financial strategies and tax tips for expats, subscribe to the channel. We're always putting out new content, and make sure to like this video. We would appreciate that. It helps us get this content to more people who really need to see it. And don't forget, join our weekly newsletter, Americans Abroad, to keep up with any changes in the tax code that could affect expats. Until next time, safe travels and happy tax planning.